is your relationship with time? Are you wired and tired, stressed and overwhelmed, busy and going nowhere? Or just want to scale your business? Welcome to Take Back Time with your host, Penny Zenker. Penny focuses on books, strategies, tools, and tips to help you work smarter and approach your time more strategically. As a result, you can have more energy, focus, and get more done in less time. Be more efficient and effective. Get ready to take back time.
Hi, and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zenker, and I'm your host. And on this show, we are dedicated to find different tips and tricks and people who are going to help you to work smarter. Because that's what it's all about. You don't want to work harder, right? And make less money. No, you want to make more money and do less in doing that. So here's what this show is about, is helping you to take back time. Christopher Swartz is here today, and he is a mortgage loan officer and managing partner with First Choice Mortgage Advisors. And he has 15 years experience in the mortgage industry, serving a wide range of clientele, providing them with various different residential mortgage loan products. And Chris specializes in conventional, jumbo, FHA, VA, and renovation mortgage loans. So the whole kit and caboodle there. And he's going to tell us more about that. But he's won a lot of awards too. Like, I was pretty impressed. I was looking at this. He was nominated by Mortgage Professional Magazine for their Young Guns Award for mortgage professionals under 40 who are making the big waves in the mortgage industry. And he was also back-to-back 5-star Mortgage Professional Award winner in 2018 and 2019. And he was recently featured in March 2019 edition of Forbes magazine as a market leader. And he's one of 8 mortgage professionals out of 4,996 in the Philadelphia area to receive this award. That's huge. And he's also got some other passions in his life. And he is the host of a podcast called Fuel, where he talks to high-level explorers the foundation under extraordinary lives. So he's looking, how do people get the most out of their life? So that's exciting. Chris, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Penny. And it's a pleasure to be on the show here and talk about and share what we do. And sorry for the mishmash of different things there. We've got the mortgage industry, which is my passion and what I do, and then the podcast Fuel, which we can talk about as well. So a whole lot going on, and trying to manage it all and stay organized is the key.
It is the key. And you know what? There's no apologies necessary. I think that, and that's what we do. I think that's a great start, is that we are somehow apologetic for all the interest that we have and all the things that we want to be involved in. But the truth is that we can do a multitude of different things and see success in all of those areas. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. If you have a plan and you're focused, I think you can achieve success in different areas, different industries. If you look at some of the most successful people in business and entrepreneurs especially, generally they don't just have one business, right? It's like if you have that entrepreneurial bug, you got a couple things going on.
That's right.
Definitely you can do it if you manage it correctly.
Well, I think that's what makes us more productive. Like, don't you find that as you've got these different interests and things that you're doing, that you're forced to look at it in a way where you've got to schedule yourself better? Today, we're going to talk a lot about delegation, right? Yeah. What are some of the things that you do that enable you to have multiple interests and multiple areas of success?
Well, I think the biggest thing is getting organized, right? Looking at what you have to do and getting that down. And there's so many different ways to get organized. So, and as an entrepreneur and as someone who's gone through a lot of coaching and those types of things, there's so many different tools. So I'm not going to really get into what works and, hey, try this one, because I think you can use a simple notepad. And I actually have my little digital notepad here, Remarkable tablet. Very simple. Just make your to-do list. There's fancy software. But you just need to figure out what it is that you're looking to do, get very clear on what that is, and then map it out.
So when you say clear on what you want to do you set goals? Is that what you mean, like in those areas?
Yeah, I mean, you can set goals as a top level, kind of where you want to be, but then just kind of breaking it down into little micro goals. Like, where do I want to be by the end of today?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
because day to day, that's how we get there, right? It's one day at a time.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing, is just figuring out, sure, you can set those top level goals and where you want to be in 3 months, 6 months, a year from now, 5 years from now. But you have to start with today. And you're not going to get there if you don't know the steps along the way. So kind of mapping that out and then figuring out what that looks like for you, I think is the first step for sure to being able to manage multiple businesses, multiple interests, whatever you want to call it, is just getting really clear on what you want and then getting crystal clear on the action steps that you need to take to get there.
So how do you manage your day?
One of the things that's been great is, speaking of technology, I live by my calendar. If it's not on there, good luck. Whether it's whether it's the family, the work. I mean, I have to put it on my calendar. And fortunately, with technology, we have these wonderful digital platforms where you can integrate everything and all these different systems talk. So I use the scheduling software. There's a slew of them out there. Calendly, OneHub, all of these scheduling tools. But I'll tell you that in the last probably year and a half has changed the game for me.
I can relate. I used to have an assistant that used to spend all this time scheduling. I can relate to that, as I was able to eliminate a position because they can do it themselves.
Yeah, I mean, you almost have this built in, and then you're just the key to all of this is efficiency, right? How can you drive efficiency into your life, your business? And little simple tool, I think it's $10 a month. Some of them have free versions, right? It's so simple, but it gives you back that time, right? I'm talking about taking back time. In my business as a mortgage broker, all I'm doing is chasing people down, right? I need to schedule a time to talk about your loan in process. I need to schedule a time to talk to you about your want to buy a home, all of these things. So you can imagine you're trying to chase people down and say, hey, does Thursday at 2:00 work for you? Oh, no, it doesn't. And then you're back and forth and there's all this time lost. So my scheduling tool has been the simplest little life hack to running my day. It's like, you want to meet with me, you want to do whatever it is, here's the schedule. Just put yourself on there at a time that works for you and I'll show up.
It's incredible. I agree with you. I'm just curious, before you use a tool like that, how many times did you have to reschedule a meeting and go back and forth because it was scheduled and then they had to reschedule and it goes back and forth? How many of those do you think that you had? If you had
yeah, I mean, literally hundreds, right? If you add them up. And not only that, but have a team of people that work at our company that now they're getting that time back. So think about, okay, if I had hundreds of appointments throughout the year that I spent hours upon hours just trying to figure out a time to even connect, multiply that by my team, right? And our company, how many hours are they wasting going back? So everybody on the team now has the tool. And look, you can always call us. We're accessible just like we were before this, but it's just one little thing that, hey, if it works for you, you can use it and it's going to be more efficient 90% of the time. For
sure. Just as a guess, I know you probably don't track this, but I'm just curious, how many hours a week do you think that you save for yourself? And then we could multiply that, right, by the number of people that you have. How many hours a week do you think you save from a simple tool like this?
My whole business is driven by appointments, right? So I'd have to say I've got a good hour, 2 hours maybe back a week.
Right. That's huge. That's huge. Yeah. I mean, it's not to be sneezed at, right? I mean, 2 hours, if you think about that, 2 hours a week, right? Times 4 weeks, right? Times 12. I mean, I just did the calculation. It's 96 hours.
Right. And you think about whatever it is that you do, right? What is your time worth an hour, right? Yeah. And that's the biggest things for me is knowing the value of your time and an hour. I mean, type of currency, right? Time is the most precious form of currency that we have, right? To give somebody an hour of your time and you're just saying, well, hey, I just got 2 hours a week back. I mean, priceless.
I think that people don't realize, they think, I'll only save an hour or two, but an hour or two multiplied, right, by every week is what could you do with 96 more hours a year, right? You could do a lot of things with 96 hours. There you go, right? You could do something you're additionally passionate about. So thank you. I just wanted to put that into perspective for people of what that can mean.
Sure.
So what else do you do? So you talked about calendaring as a key thing and scheduling those appointments. We had talked about delegating was something that you do a lot of. Tell us a little bit about that and how important that is in your day.
Sure. Well, 15 plus years now, I guess, in the mortgage industry, as you evolve in any career, you did things in the beginning to get started because you had to. Maybe you didn't have the money, you didn't have the resources, or you just didn't know any better, right? So now, as I've evolved, and again, through lots of coaching and self-exploration and just figuring out, what am I best at? Where am I able to serve the people that are looking for my help in the highest and best capacity? And you start to peel that back and you look. There's an exercise that we like to do with our team. And this is a phrase that's coined from one of my coaching groups. They call it the acts of freedom. What it is you just kind of list out everything that you do during the day and who does it. And I will tell you, the first time I did that exercise, I was like, okay, there's 47 tasks on my side and there's like 3 on the other side, right? So you're like, wait a minute. And you figure out, okay, do I really need to be doing this? Okay, no, this person can do that. Or you create a role that doesn't exist. You create, okay, well, I really don't need to do all these things because my time is worth X, and I could have somebody do these tasks for a fraction of that. So if your hourly worth is $50, $100 an hour, and you're doing tasks that you can pay somebody $15 an hour for, you need to shift that. And that was the biggest thing for me, is the shift in delegating those things. Not that I can't do them. It's just that it's keeping me from doing what I'm best at.
Right. I mean, duh. If we can pay somebody half of what our value is worth out there generating new business, that's a no-brainer. But it's key to do that exercise. Like, I've done a similar type of exercise. I call it the 4-hour work week, dedicated to something I learned from Tim Ferriss, right?
Yeah.
So how you can reduce down the tasks that you're doing. But I think you said something that's really critical, and what I have in my 7 steps to mastering time blocking is understanding the value of your time. I think a lot of people focus on tasks that are not in their highest and best interest, low value tasks, because they're not really focused in connection with what their time is really worth. And so I just wanted to highlight that what you said is somewhere along the way, you got clear on that so you could get clear on what it is that you're going to delegate.
Yeah. And then somebody that's you're working with now, or somebody you need to go out and find, at least you can define the tasks that you would like that person to do. From there, the job of like making sure that you are clear with them, the things that you need them to do, or finding the right person to do those things. And that does tie into kind of some Tim Ferriss, right? The 4-hour work week, that delegation piece. It's scary, I will tell you. It
is, because you lose control, right? Some people feel like it's a total loss of control, so they won't do it.
Yeah. And in one of the groups that I'm in, you got to test the engine, right? You've got to just run the engine, let it break, see what blows up. And then you can go in, because if you think about like a high level, let's say NASCAR or, some of these things, like that's what they do, right? They push the envelope until they say, okay, we can't push it anymore because the piston broke, or whatever it was. So, okay, what do we do? Okay, we make a stronger piston or whatever. I'm far from a mechanic, but I'm going to throw some. And that's what you do. You learn. But if you don't let that person, you have to have confidence in yourself and the judgment that you've made to empower that person to do the task that you're giving them. And if you're not confident there, you're never going to let go and you're never going to grow.
Right. And then you can kiss scalability goodbye, right? Because everything runs through you and you become the bottleneck. And not only will that run you into the ground, but it'll run your business into the ground as well.
Yeah. And then part of it is, for me as an extroverted person who likes to be in control, part of it was a little humbling exercise to say, I'm not really that important. Like, like people just need this task done. And as sad as it may be, they don't care if I do it or Susie on the team. Just like they need to get to the next step. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's plenty of things that I have a need for and I feel good about, but some things you just got to realize like, hey, you don't need to do it. And the person on the other end doesn't care if you do it. They just want it done. Yeah,
that's a great point. So if you could give us your top 2 or 3 tips on successfully delegating. So now in your mind, right, you've shared with us some of the things we need to think about to get us in the right mindset. And what are some techniques or skills that can help people to be better delegators?
Sure. Well, I think the biggest thing, especially if you're new to starting to delegate, it's very uncomfortable, right? Because these are maybe your business, maybe your, whatever, and that's your baby, right? You can't let somebody else possibly do what you do. Nobody will do it as well as you. So you need to really have some sort of accountability with the person that you're allowing to do those tasks. And you need to have some tracking in place and make sure that you're able to check in. So if you're delegating, you need to, the biggest thing for me with my team is when I delegate to you, I literally want to delete it from my brain. You own it and you're going to let me know when it's done or it's going to be done and we're going to move to the next step. If you try to delegate and you don't move on from it, or you don't have the systems in place to check in on that task, you might as well do it yourself because it's taking up brain power, it's taking up the bandwidth. So one of the biggest things is putting some sort of accountability system in place to make sure that you feel good, that you know, hey, I've delegated this to Susie or Joe, and I can look over here in this system or wherever it may be and see that it's in process, or we have daily check-ins, so we're going to run through things. We use, again, another little tech hack, we use a software called Asana, which is just a very simple task management system.
And a free tool, by the way, right? So there's free access for that for those who go, oh, well, I can't afford any tools. This one you can.
Free tool. And we run our team with it. I've yet to figure out, sorry if anybody's listening that is a shareholder or owns Asana, but I've yet to figure out why you would pay for this tool because the free version is so awesome.
So robust, yeah.
And that's what we use.
Awesome.
And we just delegate it. We put it on there. And for my peace of mind, I can look and I can see what still has to be done on the other side, but I can take it out of my space.
Yeah, absolutely. So you talked about accountability, making sure there's accountability in place. And you talked about having some tracking, right?
Sure.
And so accountability is deadlines, right? And so tracking helps to track that and do those check-in points so that you can let it go from your mind. And also helps you to empower that person to complete the task at hand as opposed to micromanagement, right? That's where we kill people's empowerment, right? When we are all over them, telling them exactly what to do and how to do it, that it's not delegation.
No.
And then the tools that you have.
Distractions are the enemy of productivity. Go to distractionquiz.com and find out your distraction profile. Are you a time zombie or a hamster? Take this free distraction quiz today to rate your ability to focus on what keeps you from being a wizard. Go to distractionquiz.com.
Is there anything else that you wanted to share? I wanted to switch gears a little bit and talk about some other things too. So is there anything else that you think that's worth mentioning around delegation for people who are uncomfortable with delegation?
No, I think we kind of hit the highlights. I mean, it's just really getting clear. There's some really cool tools out there that you can use if you're looking to delegate and you have a team in place and you're just not sure if they're the right fit or what you should be delegating to them, or maybe do that exercise and write the list of what you're doing and what you could delegate. And now you've come up with a role that doesn't exist. That person is going to have certain personality traits. Do you want them to be outgoing? Do you want them to be analytical based on the role? Just the last thing I would touch on is that we find really helpful, and there's different variations of this, and there's the DISC profile, if you will. There's all kinds of different levels. You can get pretty crazy with the DISC profiling.
Right.
But if you can use a tool like these personality assessments, just to make sure, because one of the biggest things is you have a need to delegate X to somebody, right, to free yourself up. So you just go out and you find somebody, right? Okay, here's this person, right? They said they would do it. You need to make sure that person is the right fit. And those tools like the DISC profile or something along those lines where you can gauge their personality and their characteristics and how they're going to thrive in a position would be the only other little tidbit that I would share, is just making sure that the person is right for the task that you're delegating.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Well, thank you so much. Those are really important tips. And for people listening, it's important, even though you may know one or two of these, or maybe even you know all of them, the question is, are you doing them, right? And so sometimes we know, but we don't do what we know. So it's also good to look at what's stopping you from taking the action that you know is something that's going to be good for your business. So I also want you, if you're listening, to consider that as you're thinking about what you can delegate.
Right. We all know what we need to do if we want to lose weight, right? If you want to get in shape, right? We know it's no secret. You need to, you need to go to the gym. You need to eat healthy. You need to. So, but what are you doing? That's the key. So, And a lot of these things for me, if you get involved in coaching and things, I'm not dropping any earth-shattering new news on people, right? This is stuff that people are doing that's been out there, but sometimes it's just hearing it enough, right? To say, it's time that I really take action on that. So that's what I would encourage people to do. If you've heard this stuff before, if you know about it, are you doing it? I love that. That's a great point, Penny.
Yeah, awesome. So I wanted to ask you a question. So thanks for sharing all of that.
Sure.
So very often we find that there's a question that we ask ourselves all the time that drives us and drives what we focus on. And at the end of the day, what kind of results we get. If you had to say, what was the one question that you continually ask yourself? It might be unconscious. You might have never thought about this before, but you've done a lot of coaching, so maybe you have.
Sure.
What's that one question that you think that you ask yourself all the time that has made you so successful as you are today?
The question I ask, and I've come up with a podcast around this, right? So, but my podcast is called Fuel, right? So what is my fuel? And fuel, again, kind of ties back into, you could go back and say, well, what is fuel? To make it something that you would relate to, what's your why? Why are you doing this? Why do you want what it is that you're setting out to achieve? That's the question. You need to find your fuel, your why. And that's the question I ask myself, like, why am I doing this? And that has spun into, what's your fuel?
Okay, awesome. I love it. I didn't even know that was going to lead into there, right? I didn't know what your question is. And I want to talk more about your podcast in a minute, but I'd like to know, what is your why?
That was a genuine answer to your question, not a not a layup into the podcast. It was fitting a question. So
totally. I mean, people don't know. I don't script this. We just go wherever we go, right? So what is that why for you? Like when you say, this is what drives me, this is what I'm passionate about, what is that?
Sure. In a nutshell, I grew up with very humble means, single mom, government assistance, living in an apartment, and just seeing family members around at the time that were just living in poverty and not achieving things that I would see on TV or would, in the books or would aspire to do. And that why for me was I wanted to break that cycle of just being another poverty statistic. I wanted to go to college. I wanted to own a home. I wanted to have a family and just not repeat those cycles. So that why for me is just, it drives me, takes me back to those really younger years of just wanting to live a better life than people that I had kind of grown up around and with, and saying, I want to be different. And that was and is my fuel and my why every day. And I can up that bar. First, it was, hey, I just don't want to live this type of life. I want to own a home. I want to go to college. I want to have these things. And now the cool thing about it is that starts to evolve, right? Because then it's like just buy a home or graduate college and do these things and say, I made it, done,
right.
Life's over.
Doesn't just, right.
Yeah. So now it's like, that's the why and that's the fuel, but it continues to evolve. Right now I'm married, now it's like, well, I want to be the best husband I can be. I have 2 girls. So now the bar is up there, right? I want to be the best father that I can be. So you can continue to build on that foundation. And that's what I do every day.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it is true that it evolves, right? That question for us evolves and brings us to different places. Absolutely. So is that where fuel came from? I have a couple minutes left, so I want to talk about your podcast a little bit, and then we'll let people know where they can go to hear more about it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. So that is where fuel came from. My passion is connecting with people, listening to their story, and trying to provide a solution or just developing relationships. And the vehicle that I use to do that in my quote unquote 9 to 5 is just hardly 9 to 5. It's
right. I was just going to say,
yeah, it's probably, 6 to 11, but that's the mortgage business. That's the mortgage industry. I have one of the partners in my own company with First Choice Mortgage Advisors. But what I'm really doing there is connecting with people, and they're sharing their story of wanting to own a home, wanting to buy a second home, and all of those things. So through that, I've realized that that's really my passion, is connecting with people, hearing their stories, and Fuel is really the platform that I've created, which is an acronym for Foundations Under Extraordinary Lives. And that's where Fuel kind of evolved from. It's like, I love hearing people's stories. The little couple minutes there that I just shared about my past, my story, and what my fuel is, people can maybe relate to that and take something out of it and say, you know what? I had a similar experience and I'm going to use that as my fuel and I'm going to change my circumstances. I'm going to make a difference. So that's what fuel is, and everybody's fuel is different. And I want to hear what I call your fuel story and what drives you, what makes you get out of bed and have that energy and that fire. And I like to interview people that are achieving at high levels, whether it's in their business, whether it's in their personal lives, and allow them to share their story to empower others to find their fuel. And that's really what fuel is all about. You can tune in 20, 30 minutes while you're in the car, get some little nuggets and hear, kind of the story behind the person, because most of these people that we interview, they're known exclusively for their career, right? Oh, he's the best at so-and-so. He's the best real estate agent.
And there's something that drove them there, right? To be the best. I can totally relate to that. And when we first met, we were talking about how awesome it is to hear people's stories. And there's a different connection when you hear the backstory of someone, right? So you're in the mortgage business because you're helping people fulfill their dreams, right? So because there was a dream that you had. So it's just interesting to really connect that story with what it is that people are doing. And just before we jump off and give everybody the links, one of the things that I discovered, and it's morphed over time, but for me, I've the underlying, so if you want to call it fuel story or whatever, was really started when my father passed away when I was 19. And it really had me, for many people, it's like the pandemic right now, is I really got clear on what was important and that time was limited and that what did I want for my life? What was important to me? And so living my life to the fullest and being the example and being adventurous, those were things that drove me. And so you can kind of fill in, you can see when you look back at all the things that I did in my life and how that was a driver. And I think that's awesome that you're pulling that out in a longer conversation with people in your podcast. So I highly suggest that you guys check that podcast out, because if you're not sure what your why is, it's just as important to this conversation of take back time so that you can appreciate and that you're aligning your goals and your values with the actions that you're taking every day. Because when you do that, it feels good, it feels natural, and it's going to help you be more in the flow, and you're going to be able to get through more obstacles faster because you're on that path. Did you want to share anything else, Chris, before we shut down today?
No, I think we kind of covered a lot of good stuff, and people can go out there and check out some of those tools that we talked about. Questions, of course, they can reach out to me and can get you, all the information on that. I'm sure you'll put some links in the show notes. In the show notes for sure, so that everybody can find your podcast and find you and your mortgage service and just connect with you, right? And to just reach out and connect and share the stories. You're on LinkedIn. So and the podcast is thefuelstory.com, so you can check out thefuelstory.com, and that'll give you links to, you can download the audio on all your favorite platforms. And if you need help on the mortgage side, First Choice Mortgage Advisors, we're in Media, Delaware County, and we can serve Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. So if you have any needs there, you can check us out. But I'm accessible. You find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, all of those places. And then Penny will have it in the notes. And love to connect with you and share if you want more information on any of these little nuggets, or if you like to be a guest on Fuel and you feel like you have a fuel story that you want to share, you can reach out. Happy to help in any way I can.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris, for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Penny.
And thank you all for being here, because you're seeing all the different aspects that go into you being able to be more successful and to take back time in your life. And so today we talked about two important things. Understanding scheduling and delegating, right? And how to free yourself up and control the time that you have. And also taking a look at what really fuels you. So that's today's episode. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you in the next episode. My name's Penny Zanker, and this is Take Back Time.
Thank you for listening. Today's topic is another opportunity for you to put the knowledge you learned into practice. Tune in again next week for more strategies that will help you have more energy and focus to get more done in less time, so you can continue to take back time.